Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. In this video, I'm returning back to Martha Langford. She's the daughter of James Langford and Nancy Bell, and this is part of my Langford Descendancy project. This is going to be a research with me. I'm going to work on some more of Martha Langford's children in this video. In the previous video, I had worked on Anna Delphia Harmon, and I couldn't find any evidence for Anna's middle name as it's showing in FamilySearch, other than I know that her middle name starts with the letter D based on records that I could find. So on my ancestry tree, I left it as just the middle initial D. So maybe at some point someone can document how that middle name came about. So the next person I'm going to look at is James William Edwin Harman, as he's named in FamilySearch, and I only have him listed as Edwin Harman. So we'll just go forward and see what we see. All right, so in Ancestry, I've got 9 record hints. We've already got 8 on FamilySearch. And when I'm working on a new person like this that I haven't looked at before, I will preview what I have and then what FamilySearch has, and then kind of compare things as I go and see if it all makes sense. So on FamilySearch, we've got a birth date, we've got a death year. If we scroll down, we can see he's got 2 wives. One is Polly C. Wingard, and this other one is Huldah Emmeline Taylor. It looks like there's 2 children with Huldah. So we're going to look at that and see if it's right. Now this marriage looks like it happened after this marriage. So Huldah dies, it looks like in 1883. So that would have been right after her second child. And then James William Edwin Harman marries the second time in 1889. So we're going to try to see if we can work out all those relationships and make sure they're correct. All right, so on my ancestry tree, I only have him as Edwin Harman, and that comes from the 1850 census where he's listed as Edwin. All right, and then we have the 9 record hints. So we'll go and we'll start looking at them and seeing how they compare. So we have a J.E. Harman with a Anna Harman as a child and Huldah Harman as a spouse in the 1880s census, and that seems to match up with what we've got here. Let's look and see. So we have an approximate birth year. So, okay, let's go and look at the actual image. All right, so we have Anna here, and her birth year is actually, it does look like a 9/12. So we've got a birth month. Look at that, September. Let's look and see when the date of this enumeration is. 14th of June, 1880. So that means she was born in September of 1879. All right, so everything else seems to match what's in FamilySearch, so probably pretty accurate. Let's go. We figured out Anna's birth date a little closer than what we have here. So let's go ahead and just skip ahead and update this while we're thinking about this. So we'll put September 1879. And we'll say the 1880 census gives birth day as September 79. Okay. Yay, so we were able to get that update a little more accurate. So let's go back to James. And we'll go back to my ancestry tree here, and we're going to say yes. And we're going to update this to J. Edwin for the moment until we continue to go through things. And this adds some information. We know of Hulda's for sure first name here. I'd like to see some evidence that her last name is Taylor. And then we have the daughter. You can see here that Ancestry automatically fills in that birth date. So this is why you always want to look at the image, because the index or the index information is not always going to provide something like this where you get her complete birth date. All right, so there we go. So let's look at the 1860 census. All right, so this is James living with his father, it looks like, because his mother had passed away in 1859, it looks like. So he's with his father, and his full name looks like it's going to be James. So now we know his full name is James Edwin. So let's add this, and we will update his name here. Oh, and we've got Lexington, which is interesting that some of the census records give the county instead of the state in the birth information. So if we were to go and look at this, it says place of birth here, and it's supposed to be the state, territory, or country, and the enumerator recorded the county. And so all of these people are supposedly born in Lexington County. So that's interesting that the enumerator didn't follow the instructions, which is okay. It gave us, you know, a little bit of extra information. This is going to ask me to attach this census record to all the previous family members and stuff that I'd worked on previously. Oh, we get to add Lexington here. This Anna Harmon, which is a sibling. That would be the Anna Delphia Harmon that I worked on last time. Henry, this would be that Henry Patrick Harmon. Okay. Very good. All right, so we have complete birth and death dates from Find a Grave. Hopefully there's a stone. Looks like there is. So let's go look at that. There's someone posted a picture or image of the obituary for him here. Mr. J. Ed Harmon died at his home south of Summit yesterday morning after a brief illness. He was a son of Uncle Johnny Harmon, who resided near Lexington for many years. He was about 63 years of age and leaves a wife and 2 children. Go ahead and add those. Now this is James Edward instead of Edwin, so we're going to keep an eye on that. So we've got birth date. I like to standardize the locations on my ancestry tree when I can. So let's see if that matches what's in here. So we don't have a death date. This says 29th of November 1910. Now you do have to be careful with Find a Grave, because Find a Grave, unless the dates are also on the stone, they're suspect, because memorials can be made by anybody and there's no supporting documentation. So you do have to be careful. So I'm going to try to look at that picture again, and then we'll update this death year. And it looks like this obituary index here would match the death year. So let's see if that's what they have on FamilySearch. No sources on FamilySearch at all for the death year. Okay. So we will add that. About 1910. Okay. All right, so this 1910 census has the second spouse. So let's look at that. And it may say on the 1910 census if it's the second marriage. So let's look. Yes, it does. So here we have J. Ed Harman, age 64, second marriage, years married, 21 years. Polly C., wife, 51, first marriage, and they had no children together. Okay. They're living next door to a bunch of Harmons, so that's interesting. Let's see. Polly, born in South Carolina. Okay. Let's get that added. And I don't yet know for sure her last name, so we'll just delete her married name. And we will add that. Okay, so there she is. Oh, we've got a death record for a child. So let's look at that. All right. James D. Harmon, his date of death in 1960. And we've got his wife's name, Epsie Gable. We've got a father's name, but we don't have a mother's name. Okay, and it says his date of birth is 12/10/1882 in Lexington County. Farmer. All right. Let's get that added. I was hoping it would have his mother's name and his mother's maiden name, and it doesn't. One thing to keep in mind about death records is that the information is supplied by someone other than the deceased. So a family member could be a neighbor, it could be a doctor, and they don't necessarily know anything about the person's family. And so you do have to be concerned about who the informant is. All right, this Social Security index record does have Holdy Taylor. So there's some evidence for her last name. And then also notice that James Edwin was called Jed. So there's the evidence for that. Here's a James D. Harman. All right, so let's go through and we'll update her last name. And there's James D. Harman. And we can add his birthplace, which looks like it's probably supposed to be Lexington County, South Carolina. All right. All right, so we've got a few more records here. Here's 1900 census. We should look at that. There she is. Okay. J. Edwin Harman. The highlights on Ancestry were wrong. Here's James or J. Edwin, Polly, and James A.D., the son. All right, so we've got birth years. Those seem to match up with what we have. And then 10 years married for Polly and James Edwin. Okay. So that means they were married about 1890. Let's see if there's a birth or marriage year for Polly. Yeah, 1889. Okay, that matches. All right, let's add that. February 1846, that matches. And we'll hit save. Okay, so we've got an obituary index with a more specific death location. And then this non-population schedule, that might be interesting. It may describe a little bit about what his farm was like. Okay, here he is, Edward Harman. He's the owner. Acres of grass in rotation, 103. Woodland, 260. Other improvements, 50 acres. 2,500 including land, fence, and buildings. 75 of farming implements and machinery. So that's a dollar amount. livestock, 375. Cost of building and repairing in 1879, 20. Cost of fertilizer purchased, 100. How much you paid in wages? 175. Estimated value of all farm productions, 1,250. So he was doing all right. I mean, you can compare him to his neighbors, and he's the top producer among his neighbors. This other person, a couple down from him, is close. L. W. Rogers. So he's doing all right. That's interesting. All right, and then we have down here cattle. There's quite a lot of little things in here, but what to say, he's probably doing all right based on what we see here. So yeah, we'll get that added, and then the obituary. So we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so I tried again to look at the image at Find a Grave, and it did load. You can barely see it, but it looks like November 23rd, 1910 is the death date. Okay, 29th is what that says on the memorial. It could be 29. So we're going to go ahead and enter that date into FamilySearch because it's missing. So we will go ahead and do that. And I feel comfortable with that because the dates are on the stone. So let's do that. And we do have a more specific death location based on a death index. This Richland County, South Carolina obituary index. So we'll add that and we're good. Got that updated. So we don't have any sources though for that, and so we do want to add those. Now we do have this Jed Harmon record hint on FamilySearch, and this is for the son, James D. Harmon. So I could attach it right now, but I'll probably wait till later. Let's look at the sources on FamilySearch and just double check. Okay, we have this death record here. Okay, this is for the son again. We've got an obituary. So let's look at that really quick. All right, so this is that, I think that newspaper obituary, and probably for the son because it's 1960. So we won't worry about looking at that right now. So we need to add the record hints that I found on Ancestry to FamilySearch. So to do that, we need to connect the two. So if you're in FamilySearch and you have a FamilySearch linked account, you just click on the FamilySearch icon and you'll have to sign in. Okay, so it will try to automatically find a match. If it doesn't, you can put in an ID, but it found it. So then we'll connect the person. All right, so then you can come back up here and we're going to compare. All right, so now we're just going to look at the records and cross-link them across. So we have FamilySearch on the left and Ancestry on my Ancestry tree on the right. And I'm just going to scroll down to my Ancestry links, and we want to do the obituary index and the Find a Grave record, the Social Security record. Just get all those over. And this non-population schedule also. Okay. So nothing happens here on Ancestry, but if we go back over to FamilySearch, And you can see here the sources now are 13. And all the sources I added are right here in the bottom as they have the little globe icon to indicate that they're links from the internet. If you were to click on these, it will have the link back to whatever that source is. In some cases, it's Ancestry. So that will at least help. Now, we need to tag the one that refers to his death. So that's the Find a Grave one. So here we go, Find a Grave. And we're going to add a tag. And it's going to be death. And we'll save. So now when you come back in, you can see there's at least one source for his death. And if you click on this pencil icon, it now shows this link here, which will take to the memorial. Now it's possible if I do a search here on FamilySearch, it may bring up the Find a Grave record. All right, so I just want to look really quick and see if I can find any records that match our James Edwin here. Here is that Find a Grave, and I can link this from FamilySearch to our person here. Okay, we'll attach. All right, so now it shows that there's two sources. I can come in and delete the one that I had added because the FamilySearch one here is better. We'll just say it's a duplicate. Detach. Okay. So I know this may not have been the most interesting video, but I think it's important to update things and clean things up as best you can. One thing here that I do want to address is that in my ancestry tree, I just have his name as James Edwin Harman, and all of the record hints that I was able to find seem to support that. However, his name listed on FamilySearch has James William Edwin Harman, and if we were to go in here and look at his name, all of these records that are attached to him do not have the middle name of William. I'm actually going to get rid of William for right now. If he really did have William as a name, it can be added back and hopefully it can be documented. But there's no evidence that James William Edwin was his full name. It looks like it was always James Edwin or Edward. For the older FamilySearch profiles, you may notice that the language is not marked correctly. And so I do try to fix that when I see it. Okay, so that updates that. And okay, we've got him updated now. There's still a bit more work that can be done. I may do that off camera. But the next time we work on this, we'll look at James Edwin Harman's wives, Polly and Huldah, and make sure they are cleaned up and look correct and connected to their parents. So until next time, we'll see you later.